Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of AI Horizons with me, Jonathan Blaber, Head of AI Staffing Practice for Eden Smith. It's the beginning of 2025. AI is absolutely at the forefront of everyone's conversation right now, and we're already seeing really promising signs of the job market picking up. Today we have Sajjad Rizvi with us. He is the previous head of AI and innovation for IAG Loyalty. He's also held some really, senior roles, head of innovation for Visa Government Solutions. We really want to talk about today, which is such an important topic. It's building an AI-centered culture. So, Sajjad, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and thanks for having me here. Happy to talk about anything AI related.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. Thanks for joining. And I always like to kind of start these kind of conversations with a bit about you, really, about how you got into AI, the journey, and what really kind of inspired you to pursue your career in this direction.
Yeah, I had a bit of an unorthodox journey, meaning I was really good in math when I was a kid, and something got in my head that I needed to actually get into a very practical role, meaning something like accounting or engineering, to actually have a job and not end up in academia, which isn't true, as we all know. But anyway, I studied accounting, got my CPA, interned for one of the big accounting firms, and I felt something was missing. And financial services and working in accounting was great, but my pull and almost this gravity, almost like a black hole, kept pulling me towards data. My first foray in, I would say, data and visualization rather, was when I was working for an investment bank in Seattle, and we had massive Excel workbooks, worksheets, and I was asked to visualize all of that wonderful data. And then they told me they had business objects. So that was my first, entry into actually proper visualization tools and systems and so on. And as my role kind of evolved, as I moved into different companies, there was this push for, okay, don't tell me what actually happened. Visualizations are all great, but tell me what's going to happen. And that's how I got into data science, into statistics. I didn't have statistics background, so kind of pushed myself into projects. Some people didn't really quite like me constantly asking them questions, but that's how I learned. And proper hands-on practical experience, and that kind of the whole predictive element and the prescriptive element kind of eventually pushed me more towards machine learning. As you know, it is a part of AI, and that's how my journey kind of went and kind of evolved in the AI space. So yeah, I mean, it was mainly hands-on, learning by doing, and pushing myself into projects and really getting more and more out of it and really understanding what I was building. And I'm really happy that the companies I really worked for gave me the capability and they had the understanding that somebody who didn't know much about math or didn't have a stats background could actually do something in this space. So that was wonderful.
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible journey. Certainly Seattle as well, right? I mean, I've not personally worked or been there before. What was Seattle like? Did you enjoy it?
I love Seattle. I mean, I kind of grew up in Seattle, so the weather is very similar to London anyways. And
oh no, that's not good.
So mountains everywhere, not too far away from any lakes or wonderful people, and some really big companies obviously originate in Seattle, from Amazon to Microsoft and even Starbucks and a few others. So really innovative culture, and you always have nature very close to you. So wonderful place to get away from the city and just focus on something. At the same time, easily go back to the city and get back into work and so on. So yeah, highly recommend people if you want to consider Seattle as you move.
Amazing. Yeah, it certainly looks like an amazing city for sure. And obviously you've been on that journey where, you mentioned you've come from that kind of statistical, well, not having that statistical knowledge, but going into statistics, and then you're watching or being a part of this AI journey, this data journey, as the role of data engineer, data analyst, probably at the the beginning part of that. And you've seen this role evolve over time, and it's great to see how much data can impact a business and their decision and their forward thinking. So and then obviously you then you recently kind of transferred into this more kind of AI path. What was the reason behind that? What interested you?
Yeah, obviously AI has been around for a very long time. I think today we live in the world of generative AI, and if I ask my mom, she's all about ChatGPT. She believes ChatGPT more than she actually believes our own search results, right? So that's a bit funny thing, yeah. But we live in the world of generative AI, but the reality is AI in its most broadest context, machine learning, deep learning, has been around for a very long time. John McCarthy was the one who actually coined the term artificial intelligence back in 1955 from memory. And so it's been evolving over time. And the AI journey has been interesting. It was mainly funded by big universities, by the governments, by the military, and so on. And obviously, as you all know, in the past, I think 10 years or so, with cloud compute and so on, and our capacity and capability to process huge amounts of data very quickly, has kind of had this, was a catalyst to move on to the next phase of AI, which is the generative AI side of things, which evolved from translators and so on. But the point is, it's been a very interesting journey. It's more of, for me, has been riding this wonderful wave of what is possible with AI. At the same time, I'm also very worried because of what is possible. Again, you can do a lot of really bad things. You can do a lot of really good things. Having the EU Act there has been a huge help, although there are some challenges there as well. But having some governance around it makes a big difference. And otherwise, I can see this getting wrong very, very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The whole kind of iRobot kind of scenario or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't touched on artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence, which are the next phases of AI. And today we live in the narrow world of narrow intelligence, which is AI that's good for a specific thing, and it's great. OpenAI's mission is for AGI, right? AGI for everyone, basically. But that has huge challenges. If machines are as smart and smarter than us, then what happens next? Then you have something called artificial superintelligence, where machines have consciousness, and that's a whole separate conversation, right? That's more sensational, in my opinion. But hypothetically speaking, it is possible. If you ever watch Halo, the series, or if you played the game, you know about Cortana, and that's a AI that has superintelligence, which has a an understanding of self-being and who it is. I think a really interesting movie was, and kind of digressing a bit, really interesting, was I can't forget the name. It's where the AIs actually had this understanding that the movie was called The Creator, I think, from memory. This understanding that they were created by this individual and this concept of God and all of that. Really interesting. But these are concepts that are hypothetical today, but give or take 1,000 years, so it might be very realistic. So,
yeah, well, it's certainly worrying. I certainly don't think we'll be around for that, but certainly for our future great grandchildren and things like that. Obviously it's important to get these things right. I think a lot of the talk, the hype around AI at the moment, I think one absolute key question that business owners, decision makers want to know is, what is the path to value generation from AI? What can we really see back from the investment? In your experience, what's your opinion?
Yeah, you can call it a step-by-step process. If you think about getting the basics right, make sure the foundations are there, make sure the governance is there, make sure you've got MLOps that looks after data drift, and not just build MLOps because it's a good thing to do, but actually one that actually works and looks out for things and helps you. You've got to have all those processes right. So kind of, if you focus on the people, process, and tech, get that right. So that could be your foundation that you sort out. The next step is then actually also in the foundation space, and you just add the prioritization. You've got to make sure that, you're not just running 30 different experiments and really, not really understanding which one you should prioritize. You should have some kind of a framework, whether it's as simple as a Kano type, model or RICE or whatever, but you've got to have something that tells you that here are the 5 initiatives I'm going to push forward, and here are the 25 I'm not going to worry for now. And most companies are doing that, I guess. The next step is then to do what I call very small experimentations with some friendly domains. The way I would define a domain is, let's say, pricing being a smaller domain of the commercial function, right? So you work with them, friendly ones, and you start experimenting and start finding out some real tangible value drivers off the back of that. Obviously, it has to be wrapped up around the whole agile, work streams and sprints and all of that wonderful stuff. We all know that. But if that drives value, then you can start scaling that upwards, right? So if it works for commercial, try something for marketing, and let's say, if it works for pricing, try for marketing, and that kind of rolls up into the commercial side of things. So that drives what I call functional transformation, essentially. And if you get enough of those functional transformations going, eventually you drive company-wide transformation. So the functions, make up the entire broader company. Having said that, I also don't believe that this is a very linear process. You can get the foundations right as you're working through that. You can start doing some small-scale experimentations. You can get the culture going, right? You can start, and one of the things I always think of is get people involved. Everyone in the company has some idea of how AI can benefit them. They have some fears about AI. How do you get everyone involved? And the best place to do is to get a survey going, open up your site, get people to put in some of those ideas through, get that activity, that culture going. And I think it's a big part of how you can start making these transformations real. Not every idea is going to go through production, as we all know, but at least you will have some great ideas that eventually can make a big difference for a company. So anyway, so while it's a linear step-by-step process, it doesn't have to be. You can, like I said, you can experiment while at the same time continue to build some of the capabilities, the foundational capabilities, the single source of truth, the data capabilities. Of course, your outcome won't be 100%, but at least you're starting to see some activity in this space, starting to see some value. And then as the data gets better, you start scaling that and extending that a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you made some really, really valid points there for sure. I think when it comes to, certainly from, someone who I have a lot of experience finding people and speaking to people, obviously, I think a big barrier that a lot of companies are, facing is that, it's more of a, you must do this, right, as opposed to let's get everyone involved and let's get ideas generated from every, every business unit, and it really brings the company together, and that's what I really like about it. What's is there anything else you would perhaps, recommend for building like an AI-centric culture within the business?
Yeah, I think getting people involved is really important. Having some or extending the company and collaborating with academia is a really big deal. There are, the likes of, let's say, the Alan Turing Institute. It's a great organization to work with, in my opinion. There's University of Cambridge Center for Data-Driven Discovery. Those are some great organizations, academia to work with. You've got access to some wonderful, some of the smartest minds in the country, and if not in the world, to collaborate on. And, that interaction and those partnerships can go a long way in trying out some of those novel techniques that can actually help, a use case that perhaps you may not have even thought about, right? So that's one. I think there's another collaboration that often people forget is with the wider partners in the ecosystem. So if you think about, like yourselves or, companies that are providing the platform and so on. Most companies I've actually worked with in the past have what I called some element of value in kind. There's a little bit of money that's available to collaborate on, and that can fund a small experimentation. So these things, while it's low cost or hardly any cost to the company, can actually drive some great collaboration, can drive innovation, can get the thought leadership out there, positions the company in the AI space, and also in the data space. So those things are great. The first thing I always suggest is, if you're trying to build this culture, AI-centric culture, is to do a survey, understand what people are really feeling. People don't always come and tell you what they're feeling, right? But they're always happy to put down on a survey some, how they're really seeing this AI evolving. And there's this theory about 1/3, right? 1/3 of the population you kind of interview or get them to fill out a survey will say, yeah, they're really excited about this. They think it's going to change their world in a positive way. You've got the second layer, the other 1/3, who are not really so sure, they're on the fence. They think it might change their life. At the same time, they're worried. And they've got 1/3, the last end of that segment, and they are really, really worried. They don't know what's going to happen. It's going to take over their roles and so on. So the job is to get everybody involved. Those who are fearful, get them involved as much as those who are really active and are very proactive about AI. And what you actually end up getting is a mix of people who then start talking to each other. And, suddenly ideas come up. Those who are worried can then talk about, well, maybe I need there's some kind of an academy to help me upskill myself in this space, right? So then we can talk about things like low code, no code type setup for them, where we can actually enable them. Those who are on the fence, can move more towards the proactive, let's do something in this space, but let's also understand what are the ethical ramifications in this space. How does the EU Act help me? How does it not help me? What do I have to do? So it's just getting that conversation going is a great step towards building an AI-centric culture. And like I said, everyone has an idea. Everyone is innovative. It's not just the people in the innovation room who are innovative. Everyone has got some idea they want to bring forward. They just don't have an avenue. So and it's a really cheap, low cost, if any cost option. Open up a team site and get them to put in an idea. Everybody should have access to it. Open it up for everyone, and let's collaborate. That's the point.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you talk about the survey. That's really piqued my interest. I mean, do you have is there any typical questions you might ask to kind of bring out these ideas, these innovations? Is there anything you try to dig at?
Open questions are always good. So ask them about how they feel, instead of saying yes, no. Closed questions are not really going to work in this space. It's almost like how you would do a marketing interview. Having a lot of those open questions would actually help them kind of formulate how they are really feeling, give them enough room, text boxes to type in those responses instead of saying have to yes or no answers. So I think that definitely helped. We've done one recently and had some really interesting feedback. We made it optional if they wanted to identify themselves. And what we found out, many people actually wanted to say who they are. So you can see that it's really interesting. People genuinely feel that this is a game changer. They feel that they can add value. If you're worried about something, if you don't want to add value, you would automatically say, look, I don't want to. So one of the questions we actually had was, if you want to collaborate or something along those lines, we need to know who you are. Would you be happy to provide your name and your department and so on? And they did. Majority, almost 80% did. So no, more than 80% actually, from memory. So the fact is, people are excited, they want to play a part in it, and we need to give them that option to do it. Otherwise, what you end up is, okay, here are a few group of people who have decided what this is going to do for us, and that's it. Of course, that doesn't, it doesn't mean that, if everybody comes in and says, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, we take all of those projects and say, we're going to do all of it. No, that's not possible. That's why you need to have some kind of a prioritization framework that pulls those projects together, but it should be available for everybody in the company to see what we're working on. It should be as open as possible, as much as possible, so that there is good synergy and there's good collaboration. This is their ideas that we're moving forward with anyways, so why not, right?
That's really, really gives some really amazing suggestions there, by the way. I'm sure that, certainly the listeners will find that really useful. Being open, certainly, in any scenario, if you really want to get someone's real feelings out there. Let's be open, ask nice open questions, and see what kind of response you get back. Sorry, but certainly I was really surprised to hear people actually want to put their hand up and put their name forward and say that this is my opinion, this is my idea. I feel like that kind of gives a sense of people want to contribute to the to ideas and to this transformation. So really useful stuff there. Thanks, Sajjad. But obviously it's not all breezy, is it? You're going to have challenges along the way. Is there any kind of particular challenges you've encountered before when trying to kind of build an AI-driven organization?
Yeah, I think, well, there are many challenges. Obviously, if you park the tech challenges aside, there are these challenges around expectations management, right? So, and a lot of the times, and I'm kind of generalizing this, a lot of the times what happens or what's happening at the moment is you've got at the board level conversations about the value of AI and the power of AI and what it can do to transform the company, and the double percentage or the percentage 300, 400 million that's going to drive for the company. And that's all great. The reality is that when you don't have your data in order, when you don't have MLOps, you don't have model risk management and all of that, it's a very difficult situation to manage. And so often the roles of people who are head ofs or directors, etc., at this, at that stage is to do a lot of expectations management. And again, I'm generalizing, I'm not pointing at any company, but there is this push almost that, look, why can't we get that 300 million? That some of the big 5 consultancies are promising. Well, you've got to get some of the basics right as well. And of course, you can experiment, but it's nowhere going to be close to the 300, 600 million that's being promised incrementally for the company every year. So it is that expectation management, which is, I think, one of the hardest challenges, one of the challenges that folks like us have to do and deal with. The other element, like I mentioned earlier, you may have some of the data foundations right, but you've got to get the process right as well. So, you've got to have a modern tech stack to actually take some of the AI solutions that you've developed, the systems that you've developed to production, right? So you may have all you may build a great recommender, but you cannot push that through because your API framework is broken, then it's not going to happen, right? So you've got to make sure that both sides of the tech stack works harmoniously, and you're able to take a solution to production, which is often where a lot of these data science projects have failed. I mean, almost 80% from memory don't see that any light day because you just don't have the right foundations in place to actually push that to production, right? And so yeah, I mean, those are just
80%.
some.
That's
majority of it. Yeah.
And the reasons behind that, from your opinion, is the foundation, setting the strategy, that so maybe
Absolutely.
Going off and running before you can walk as such.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm of the mindset that you can do both of these things together, but you're not going to get the massive tangible returns that you would like to get. If you want to get those huge numbers, then you've got to get the basics right. Absolutely. But that shouldn't stop people. I don't think it should stop companies from experimenting. You should experiment. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're not going to be able to see some of those outcomes that you would like to see. But what experimentation does, it gets the data science team active. They can start thinking about new ideas, start innovating in the space. And when your foundations are right, you've got your data governance right, you've got some of the data right, then you can start pushing it through to really start seeing some of those tangible returns. But I think it would be I wouldn't say wrong, but it wouldn't be right if companies took that linear approach of AI at scales, which is you've got to get foundations right, then you've got to get this, then you've got to get that. Well, it's going to be too late then. in my opinion. So I think you can get some of that experimentation at the same time, get the foundations right, but you may not see the results the way you would like to, but you've got something going at the same time.
Yeah, again, really valid point. It links us nicely into, about, advice you would give to organisations that are starting on their, their Gen AI journey. What pieces of advice can you give from your kind of experience and knowledge?
Yeah, exactly that, and quick wins. Look out for some of those quick wins. It goes a long way to build the value story, the business case. Needs to be tied obviously to the wider commercial objectives and goals of the company, but some of those quick wins can actually go a long way, right? Actually, it helps to validate some of those use cases that you want to pull forward, or push forward rather, in the company. A good one, like I said earlier, is start small, start with a friendly team who are quite open to transformation, validate your use case, pull a presentation together that actually highlights some of those outcomes, take it and promote it across the company to the senior stakeholders. And that's how you start building this momentum. Oftentimes you'll find some people in the company, and some senior people in the company may not be quite open to AI transformation because they know that there are some things that needs to be done, and that's right too. But this kind of helps to start moving or start turning the chain, I guess, in moving AI forward. I think, again, my biggest advice would be, obviously, start small. Think of it as if where you can experiment, but don't feel that you've got to get the foundations 100%. You can do them both together. You can work on the foundation, get your model risk management, get your ML ops, get your governance right. At the same time, start experimenting. And when it's right, it's only then when you start scaling, but you shouldn't stop experimenting.
So important, isn't it? Use cases at the moment are, just everywhere right now. I think everyone's trying to really see the value they can get, and if it actually works, right? So it's a very exciting time. But let's not forget the grads, because the graduates that are leaving university in their last year, they're thinking, right, what direction do I go in? And they might be worried about the impact of AI. I mean, for example, I really want to go down the kind of like a graphic design route, but now they've got all of these AI tools out there that's kind of replacing the need for highly skilled graphic designers. Obviously, there's an argument there about time and real quality, but from your opinion, what would you be saying to graduates that might maybe worried about the impact of AI? What would you tell them?
Look, I mean, I agree. There is a lot of press about how AI is going to take over jobs, and I think you've got graduates, like you said, graphic designer, for example, thinking, well, hang on a second, I can just use one of those AI tools and do exactly the same thing I could have done, and I've gone to university for this or whatever, right? I totally get it. I don't think that should put them off. I think they should continue doing what they're doing. At the same time, have an open mind that they may have to change, or they may have to work with these AI tools that will actually help them, empower them. The way I would view AI, at least for the foreseeable future, is that it should actually help us, be more efficient, and it wouldn't take our roles 100% of it, at least. And everybody should understand how, graduates especially, and how AI works. So they should have a good understanding of, can I write a prompt? Can I, do I have some basic learning? And those things you can actually get online, go to Udemy or Coursera, whatever, get themselves, acquainted with some of those techniques. It's not incredibly hard. And that will go a long way in terms of kind of using AI in the right way and not be worried about it. I think if you think about the right team structure, oftentimes there's a lot of focus on STEM. We've got to have engineers and data scientists and so on, who've got math majors and so on. And that's all great. That's all great. But to build a really good holistic AI system, you need everyone. you need history majors, you need sociology majors, you need marketing majors, you need obviously math and statistics and all of that. But you've got to have a good representation of the people you're going to be deploying these solutions to. And if you only focus on a very narrow set of skill sets or very narrow set academic set, then you kind of miss out on the broader picture. And I think that's a bit scary as well. And that's why some of the biases normally kind of come in at the same time. So, we need these, we need the sociology majors of this day, right? We need the marketing and history majors as much as we need the math majors. So we need everyone. So that's another thing. Again, I would suggest that they shouldn't be worried about this. They should actually take it on, learn more about it. This is their chance to impact how AI actually solves some of the bigger problems that we are facing today. And how can they use it? And that's up to them, right? And while we're building, they should be able to influence it as much as they can by being part of it. And it's like saying, well, this is too scary, I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, that's not going to help us at all, right? It's more about, okay, this is scary, I get it, but let's become part of it and see what we can do with it and how can we influence it. That's how I would approach the problem.
That is such good advice, and I totally agree with that as well. AI is here. Let's face it. Businesses are going to start hugely investing in transformations, making their business more efficient, making their profits more profitable, right? So it's here. It's here to stay, but it's now about, right, how do we feed the talent that's coming into this market to better themselves, right? So to they're already, for example, they're already great graphic designers. How can we use AI to make you even better? Use them tasks that, quite honestly, are repetitive and that you don't enjoy, and spend your time on things that you love. Surely that will create a better working environment, give you a bit more job satisfaction on the things you're doing. So I completely agree with you, and I think that's some really, really valid points you've spoken about today.
Yeah, I mean, I always see AI as more of a, at least from the narrow intelligence side of things, to help us more than anything else. And if you think about back in the Victorian days, you've got a farmer with a horse tilling, the farm. That's about 2 to 4 acres a day. And as that evolved over time, industrial age, post-industrial age, you've got the tractors today or harvesters today that can actually do 40 acres a day, if not more. 40 is probably less, I think. So the farmer then has a bit more time, to think about what else they need to do. Maybe, I don't know, open up a new business or a shop, or like Sajjad Clarkson did. I don't know. So there is that element, right? So that's how I kind of view this. It's that, look, let's make it work for us, and let's, especially those graduating from university, they have a huge opportunity, I think, to influence this. They're new in the market. They come up with new, fresh ideas that folks like me who've been in this sometimes don't really think about, right? And they have those ideas, and they can actually drive that forward. They've got, at least 50, 60 years of, 50 years, I would say, minimum of, but depending on what our pension age is now in the future, but of working, timeline horizon for them, and they can make a huge impact. So for them to think about how we can use AI is more important than anything else. And instead of saying, well, I'm worried about it, so I'm not going to do anything about it, it's the wrong attitude. I really don't think that's going to work for us. Really, really, really important topics. Thank you so much, Sajjad, for being a great guest. I just really enjoyed speaking to you, picking your brain. You've got a lot of wisdom and knowledge to share. So thank you. I know that our audience will take a lot of information, a lot of use from what we've discussed. So thank you so much. This has been a great episode of AI Horizons with me, Jonathan Blaber, Head of Group Practice, and Sajjad Rizvi. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for listening to another episode of AI Insights with me, Jonathan Blaber, heading up our AI
recruitment practice at Eden Smith. If you'd like to find out more, please visit our website, find me on LinkedIn, or email me at jonathan.blaber@edensmith.co.uk. Thanks again for listening.